Imagine walking through a busy supermarket, noise, crowds, people rushing everywhere, when suddenly a little girl makes a small, almost invisible gesture. A gesture that could save her life. Most people would miss it, but one officer didn't. In moments of real danger, especially those involving children, the difference between safety and tragedy often depends on a single opportunity, a window of just a few seconds where a message can be sent, noticed, and acted upon. But in many of these moments, shouting, crying, or calling for help simply isn't an option. Fear, threat, or the presence of an aggressor can silence even the loudest scream. This is why silent safety signals have become one of the most powerful tools for rescue and survival, particularly for children who may be trapped in situations where speaking out could make things worse. The story of the little girl in the supermarket, it is a perfect example of how something so small, so subtle, can have life-changing impact. Her situation was one many victims face. She was surrounded by people, yet completely alone. She was in a public place, yet unable to openly ask for help. This contradiction is one of the most frightening aspects of danger, being visible to the world, while feeling completely invisible to safety. The little girl knew that talking or crying might escalate the threat. The person controlling her might become aggressive, suspicious, or violent if she tried to ask for help in an obvious way. So instead, she used the silent rescue signal she had learned, and that tiny gesture became her voice. Silent signals work because they create a communication channel that bypasses the aggressor. They protect the victim while informing a potential rescuer. That small hand gesture, curling the thumb into the palm and folding the fingers over it, has become widely recognized around the world as a discreet way to say, "I am in danger, I need help, but I cannot speak." It is simple, fast, and almost invisible to someone who does not know what it means. Yet for someone who does recognize it, it is as loud as a scream. What makes this signal powerful is not only its meaning, but its accessibility. Anyone, regardless of age, language, or physical strength, can use it. A child, a teenager, an elderly person, or someone with limited ability to speak can all rely on the exact same gesture. There are no words to mispronounce, no phrases to remember, no technology required. It works in public, in private, in cars, in stores, and even through windows or video calls. The universality of this silent gesture is what gives it strength. But the power of silent signals does not only lie with the one who uses them, it also lies in the people who recognize them. The off-duty police officer who saw the girl's signal in the supermarket, it had one essential advantage: awareness. He knew what the gesture meant, and because of that knowledge, he understood that this was not a random movement or a nervous habit. It was a plea, a warning, a coded message that carried fear, urgency, and hope all at once. Without awareness, the signal would have gone unnoticed, and that is the frightening truth. Signals only save lives when someone is prepared to see them. This is why education is so critical. Silent rescue signals must be taught widely in schools, in homes, in community workshops, in online campaigns. Parents should teach them to children not as a source of fear, but as a form of protection, the same way they teach them how to cross the street or memorize emergency numbers. Children are naturally observant and capable of learning. Empowering them with safety tools does not weaken them, it strengthens them. It gives them confidence in situations where they might otherwise feel helpless. Silent signals also give adults the ability to communicate distress in dangerous circumstances. Victims of domestic abuse, human trafficking, kidnapping, or coercion often face situations where speaking out could lead to greater harm. For them, a gesture is safer than a whisper. This is why awareness campaigns have spread the rescue signal across social media platforms, television broadcasts, classrooms, and workplaces. The more people who know it, the more effective it becomes. However, the true importance of silent signals goes beyond one gesture. It represents something much larger: the human responsibility to look out for one another. In a world where we often walk past each other without noticing, the idea that a simple hand sign can save a life reminds us to be present, observant, and compassionate. Silent signals are a bridge between vulnerability and protection. They connect those who are quietly suffering with those who are willing to step forward. The story of the little girl also teaches another important lesson. Children understand more than we realize. They absorb information, remember instructions, and recognize danger far earlier than many adults expect. This is why safety education must treat children not as helpless beings, but as capable individuals who can learn strategies for their own protection. When children are trusted with knowledge, they often use it effectively, just like the girl did. Her courage to send the signal and the officer's awareness to recognize it formed a perfect moment of protection that changed everything. Silent signals are not just symbols, they are lifelines. They represent hope in situations where hope feels impossible. They represent courage when a voice cannot be used. And they remind us that every person, child or adult, deserves a way to ask for help that is safe, discreet, and effective. Awareness is one of the most underestimated yet life-saving human abilities. In a world overflowing with distractions, buzzing phones, crowded environments, personal worries, and rushing schedules, noticing small details has become increasingly rare. Yet, in critical moments, awareness is the thin line between danger continuing and danger being stopped. The story of the little girl in the supermarket. It reminds us that true awareness doesn't require special training, heroic strength, or extraordinary intelligence. It only requires attention, and attention, when properly used, can save lives. When the off-duty police officer walked into the supermarket that day, he wasn't in uniform and wasn't expecting to step into a rescue situation. He was simply another customer among many. Hundreds of people in that store were going about their day choosing groceries, comparing prices, pushing carts, and most of them walked past the girl without noticing anything unusual. This isn't because they didn't care, it's because they didn't see. And they didn't see because their attention was occupied by normal, everyday distractions. But the officer noticed something. It wasn't loud, dramatic, or obvious. It was a subtle gesture, a secret rescue signal. He saw her expression, her body language, her hesitation near strangers, and the uncomfortable closeness of the man beside her. All these details, which could easily be dismissed as nothing, formed a picture in his mind. A picture that said, something is wrong. This is what awareness truly is, noticing what others overlook. Awareness is the ability to pay attention to small signs that something doesn't feel right, even when everything else appears normal. It is also the willingness to listen to your instincts that whisper inside your mind that says, look again. The officer could have brushed it off. He could have said, maybe I'm imagining it. He could have assumed the girl was just shy or tired. But he didn't. He recognized the signal, connected it with her fearful demeanor, and took action. Awareness becomes powerful when paired with responsibility. Being aware does not mean being paranoid or assuming danger everywhere. It means being observant enough to recognize when a situation deviates from what is typical or safe. It means understanding that danger doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it appears quietly, hidden in a child's eyes, in a trembling hand, or in a silent signal. Modern life has conditioned us to look without truly seeing. We scroll endlessly on screens, multitask constantly, rush through errands, and pass by strangers without noticing their expressions, emotions, or distress. Many potential warning signs go unnoticed not because people lack compassion, but because they lack awareness. This is why the officer stands out. He was aware even in a place where most people stop paying attention. The girl's rescue teaches us that awareness is not a skill reserved only for professionals. Anyone, parents, teachers, shoppers, workers, students can learn to be more observant. You don't need a badge to pay attention. You don't need training to notice fear in someone's face. And you don't need authority to step forward when something seems wrong. Awareness begins with simple habits. 1. Look around, not just ahead. Many people walk through public spaces focused only on their destination. Being aware means noticing the people around you, their behavior, expressions, and interactions. 2. Listen to instincts. Human intuition is powerful. If something feels off, even if you can't explain why, it is worth paying attention to. 3. Understand the signs. From distress signals to unusual body language, learning what danger looks like allows you to recognize it faster. 4. Care enough to pause. Awareness requires a moment of slowing down, a moment to truly observe rather than rush. The officer's action wasn't heroic only because he intervened, it was heroic because he noticed. He saw what almost everyone else missed. His awareness became the girl's safety. Awareness also teaches us not to underestimate the importance of small details. A child who avoids eye contact, a teenager who looks frightened next to an adult, a person trying to silently communicate, all these are tiny pieces of a bigger story. Ignoring them can allow danger to continue. Noticing them can interrupt it. But awareness is not only about detecting danger. It is also about creating a safer environment for everyone. When people know that others around them are observant, attentive, and willing to act, those who intend harm feel less empowered. Criminal behavior thrives in environments where no one is paying attention. A watchful community becomes a protective community. Awareness also requires courage. When you notice something suspicious, it can be tempting to ignore it, to convince yourself it's none of your business, or to avoid getting involved. But awareness without action is like seeing a fire and walking away from it. The officer combined awareness with bravery. He didn't just observe, he responded. His decision to follow the girl, despite uncertainty, made the difference between danger continuing and danger ending. Ultimately, the supermarket incident reveals a difficult truth. Danger does not always look dangerous. It can appear normal, quiet, ordinary, hidden in plain sight. That is why awareness matters so deeply. It allows us to become protectors even in the most everyday environments. Awareness is not about suspicion. It is about presence. It is not about fear. It is about readiness. It is not about looking for danger. It is about not ignoring it when it is right in front of us. Empowerment is not something that begins in adulthood. It does not start when a person becomes strong, independent, or experienced. In reality, empowerment begins much earlier, often in the quiet moments of childhood, long before a young person fully understands the world. The story of the little girl in the supermarket shows us a powerful truth. Even a child, when equipped with the right knowledge, can protect herself in unimaginable situations. Empowerment, when taught early, becomes a shield long before danger ever appears. For generations, people believed that children were too young, too innocent, or too fragile to learn about safety. The idea was that teaching them about danger would frighten them or burden them with adult worries. But we now know this thinking is outdated and unsafe. Children today face a world where unpredictability exists in homes, schools, communities, and public places. Preparing them is not frightening, it is empowering. When that little girl made the silent rescue signal, she did something extraordinary. Not because the gesture was complicated, but because of what it represented: confidence, courage, and awareness. She remembered what she had been taught. She trusted that signal. She believed someone would notice. And she understood that even though she was small, she was not powerless. This is the essence of early empowerment, giving children the tools to protect themselves in moments where adult help is not immediately available. Empowerment at a young age looks different than empowerment for adults. For children, it begins with small lessons: how to recognize unsafe behavior, how to trust their instincts, how to say no when something feels wrong, and how to use simple signals to call for help discreetly. These lessons may seem small, but in the real world they are massive. They can change the outcome of a frightening situation. The girl's ability to use the rescue signal demonstrates two important foundations of early empowerment. 1. Knowledge is protection. 2. Practice builds confidence. Children cannot rely solely on adults to protect them at every moment. Even the most attentive parents cannot be beside their children every second. Schools, public places, homes, and everyday environments can all present moments where a child may feel unsafe or threatened. When a child knows how to identify danger and respond appropriately, they gain a sense of control over their own safety. Some people believe teaching children safety signals, boundaries, or warning signs is too mature for their age. But psychology and real-life evidence prove the opposite. Children who are taught age-appropriate safety tools do not become more fearful, they become more secure. They know that if something goes wrong, they have options. They know they can communicate. They know their voice, even if silent, has meaning. Empowerment also means teaching children to trust their feelings. Many children are naturally intuitive. They sense when something feels wrong long before they can explain it. But adults often unintentionally dismiss children's instincts with statements like "don't be rude," "stop overreacting," or "he's just being friendly." While well-meaning, these responses can confuse children, teaching them to question their instincts instead of honoring them. Empowerment requires the opposite, encouraging children to recognize discomfort and respond to it with confidence. The little girl's rescue signal was not just a gesture. It was an entire mindset. She understood that her feelings mattered. She understood that she had a right to ask for help, even secretly. She understood that her safety was important, and she had been given a tool to protect herself. Empowerment also prepares children for how to behave in situations where the danger is not obvious. Many negative situations begin subtly: a stranger acting overly friendly, an adult behaving inappropriately, or someone trying to isolate a child. Teaching children early that they should trust themselves, speak up, or signal for help builds strong internal boundaries. Early empowerment is not only about teaching what to do in emergencies. It also builds emotional strength. Children who grow up understanding their rights, their boundaries, and their ability to protect themselves often develop greater confidence in other areas of life as well. They learn that their voice matters. They learn that asking for help is not weakness. They learn that they are allowed to say "stop," "no," or "I don't like that." These qualities not only protect them in dangerous moments, but help them develop healthy relationships, communication skills, and decision-making abilities throughout life. Empowerment at a young age also shifts the balance of control away from predators. Individuals who seek to harm children often rely on silence, fear, and confusion. They expect children to be unaware, uncertain, or too frightened to speak up. But a child who knows how to communicate danger, even silently, disrupts that entire plan. Knowledge is not only protection, it is prevention. Parents, teachers, and communities play a critical role in this process. When adults openly teach safety skills, reinforce boundaries, and listen seriously to children, they create an environment where empowerment is natural, not forced. Children become safer not only because they were taught, but because they were heard. The girl's experience in the supermarket. It is a living example of how early empowerment can save a life. Her courage did not come from adulthood, it came from preparation. From being taught, from knowing, even at a young age, that she was not helpless. Empowerment does not wait for age. It grows from knowledge, it grows from awareness, and most importantly, it grows from giving children the tools to protect themselves long before they ever need to use them. In moments of danger, time becomes one of the most powerful forces in determining the outcome. Seconds, not minutes, often decide whether a person escapes harm or falls deeper into it. That is why quick action is not just helpful, it is critical. When the off-duty police officer in the supermarket recognized the little girl's silent rescue signal, he did not pause. He did not question himself. He did not wait for confirmation. He acted immediately. And that speed, that instant decision, became the turning point that changed everything for the child. Quick action doesn't mean acting recklessly or without thought. It means recognizing when hesitation could lead to irreversible consequences. It means trusting your observation enough to intervene before the opportunity passes. In real-life emergencies, hesitation is expensive. It can cost safety, freedom, or even a life. Many dangerous situations escalate quietly at first, and once they break into the open, it is often too late to respond effectively. The little girl's situation was exactly this kind of moment. Her signal was subtle, small, and easy to miss. But in that subtlety was urgency. She was in danger, yet she had only a few seconds where she felt safe enough to communicate. If the officer had delayed even briefly, her chance of rescue could have vanished. The man controlling her could have moved her to another aisle, taken her out of the store, or noticed her attempt to communicate and reacted violently. All of this could have happened in moments. That is why the officer's quick action mattered. Quick action is fundamentally about two things. 1. Recognizing the moment. 2. Responding without unnecessary delay. Both are equally important. Some people recognize danger but are slow to respond because they second-guess themselves. They worry about misunderstanding the situation, embarrassing themselves, or making someone uncomfortable. While those concerns are understandable, acting too slowly can allow danger to escalate or slip away unnoticed. And when a child's safety is at stake, the priority must always be protection, not pride. The officer didn't know the full story when he acted. He had no confirmation that the child was with the wrong person or that she was in danger. He only knew what he saw: a silent signal, a frightened expression, and a situation that didn't feel right. This uncertainty did not freeze him. Instead, it motivated him. He acted with caution but with urgency, following the pair from a safe distance, watching carefully, assessing the man's behavior, and staying alert for any opportunity to intervene. This is how quick action works in the real world, not impulsively, but decisively. Quick action also prevents a dangerous situation from escalating into something harder to stop. Many people who commit harm rely on hesitation from bystanders. They count on the fact that most observers will wait, question themselves, or assume someone else will step in. This phenomenon, often called the bystander effect, can paralyze entire groups of people into doing nothing, but one person acting quickly can break that hesitation chain. The officer became that person. His willingness to act sent a powerful message that a child's safety is worth responding to immediately, even if the situation is unclear. That immediate response also protected the girl in multiple ways. First, it kept her in sight. Second, it allowed the officer to stay close enough to intervene if the situation worsened. Third, it made it impossible for the man to escape without being noticed. One of the most important aspects of quick action is understanding that the window to help is often smaller than it seems. Danger moves fast. Decisions made in a split second can change everything. A predator can sense suspicion and disappear. A child can be pulled away. An opportunity to help can close. These moments are fragile, and they rarely return once missed. Quick action does not necessarily mean physically intervening right away. It can be as simple as observing closely, calling authorities, creating a barrier, asking a question, or staying nearby. It means not letting doubt overpower instinct. The officer's quick decision allowed him to gather more information. As he followed the girl and the man, he noticed more signs: the girl avoiding touch, her tense posture, the man's controlling behavior. These details confirmed the danger and guided him toward the right response. Quick action is also deeply connected to courage. Acting fast requires bravery, especially in uncertain situations. It is easier to wait and watch than it is to step forward. But waiting, while comfortable, can be dangerous. The officer chose the harder path, the path of involvement, and his courage reinforced the importance of responding early, before harm progresses. In emergency response training, there is a principle: the first few seconds decide everything. This applies not only to professionals but to ordinary people as well. Whether it is witnessing an accident, sensing a threat, or recognizing a distress signal, The first instinct is often the truest. Acting on that instinct can prevent further harm and create the opportunity for rescue. Quick action shifts the balance of power. It disrupts the plans of someone intending harm and gives hope to the person in danger. The girl's silent signal opened a small window. The officer's swift response widened it. Without that quick action, the signal may have gone unnoticed and her chance for escape may have been lost. When danger is present, action must be faster than hesitation. When a child is seeking help, response must outweigh doubt. And when silence carries a message of fear, the answer must come with speed. Safety is not something that rests solely on the shoulders of law enforcement, parents, or trained professionals. It is a collective effort, a shared responsibility that involves every individual, every family, every neighbor, and every member of society. Community responsibility means understanding that we all play a role in creating an environment where people feel protected, where danger is noticed, and where help is never too far away. The story of the little girl in the supermarket, it serves as a powerful reminder that protection becomes strongest when the community works together, not in isolation. When the girl gave her silent rescue signal, she was surrounded by people. Dozens of shoppers walked past her, employees restocked shelves, families picked groceries, a sea of movement and noise. Yet despite the crowd, the child felt completely alone. This is a disturbing truth. Danger can hide in plain sight when no one is paying attention. A community is only as safe as the awareness and compassion of the people in it. The off-duty police officer stepped forward, but the situation raises an important question. What if he had not been there? Would someone else have noticed? Would anyone have recognized the signal? Would the child have remained invisible in the crowd? These questions highlight why community responsibility matters so deeply. Safety should never depend on the hope that the right person happens to be present. Instead, safety should be a shared mission embraced by everyone. Community responsibility begins with awareness, but it goes beyond that. It means being willing to care about the well-being of people you don't know. It means acknowledging that children, elderly individuals, and vulnerable people rely on the collective watchfulness of their community. It means refusing to look away when something feels wrong, even if it feels uncomfortable to intervene. A strong community is built on certain principles. 1. People notice each other. Communities are safer when individuals pay attention when they observe their surroundings, recognize distress, and stay alert for unusual behavior. When people take even a moment to look around instead of staying lost in their own world, they create an environment where danger has fewer chances to hide. 2. People care enough to act. Not every situation requires physical intervention. Sometimes community responsibility means asking a gentle question, staying nearby to monitor a situation, offering support, or calling authorities when something feels off. Small actions can make enormous differences. 3. People understand that safety is shared. Danger affects more than one person. It affects families, neighborhoods, and communities. When one person is unsafe, the entire environment becomes vulnerable. Helping one person contributes to the safety of all. Community responsibility also means understanding the power of education. The more a community knows about distress signals like the silent rescue gesture the girl used, the more effective those signals become. If only a few people know them, opportunities for rescue are limited. But if most people in a community recognize the signs, danger suddenly becomes much harder for predators to conceal. This is why spreading awareness is an essential part of community protection. Workshops, school programs, social media campaigns, and conversations at home strengthen the collective knowledge that keeps people safe. However, community responsibility is not just about reacting to danger, it is also about preventing it. When individuals look out for one another, dangerous situations are more likely to be interrupted early. Predators often rely on isolation, secrecy, and the assumption that no one is watching. But in a connected, observant community, their ability to act unnoticed is drastically reduced. People are less likely to become victims when they live in an environment where others are paying attention. Another important aspect of community responsibility is breaking the bystander mentality, the belief that someone else will handle the situation. This mindset is one of the greatest dangers in emergencies. When many people are present, individuals may hesitate, assuming another person will step in. But as the little girl's experience shows, a crowd does not guarantee help. What guarantees help is one person deciding that they will not ignore what they see. Community responsibility also includes teaching children and teenagers to be part of the protective circle. Young people often witness situations adults may overlook because they observe their surroundings differently. When they are taught to recognize warning signs, understand safety signals, and feel confident asking for help, they become valuable contributors to community safety. Children, too, can protect one another, something that becomes deeply powerful in schools and playground environments. Most importantly, community responsibility is about empathy. When people truly care about others, even strangers, they create a culture of protection. Empathy transforms communities from places of silence into places of support. It encourages people to check in when they see someone distressed, to be vigilant when a child looks uncomfortable, and to listen without judgment when someone expresses fear. The supermarket incident showcases how one person's willingness to act can change the outcome, but imagine how powerful it would be if dozens of people in that store had recognized the signal. Imagine if communities everywhere were aware, educated, and willing to step forward. The safer a community becomes collectively, the fewer opportunities predators have to exploit. A community becomes strong when everyone, from children to adults, understands that safety is not an individual burden but a shared responsibility. It is built from small actions: noticing, caring, reacting, and learning. And when a community embraces these values, it becomes a place where danger struggles to hide, where victims find support, and where every silent cry for help has a greater chance of being answered. Knowledge is one of the greatest tools of protection a person can have. It is invisible, lightweight, and accessible to everyone, yet its impact can be life-saving. The story of the little girl in the supermarket, it demonstrates that when people know what to look for, how to respond, and what actions to take, they become far more capable of preventing danger and helping those in need. Knowledge doesn't just prepare us for emergencies. It gives us the confidence to act, the awareness to identify risks, and the power to protect those who cannot protect themselves. At its core, knowledge transforms ordinary individuals into guardians. You don't need a uniform, badge, or title to help someone in danger. You simply need information, the understanding of what certain signals mean, how victims might behave, and what steps can safely be taken. The silent rescue signal used by the girl is a perfect example of how knowledge, even in its simplest form, can serve as a shield in moments of fear. The girl did not rely on strength or loudness to ask for help. She relied on knowledge, a gesture she had learned, remembered, and used. The police officer who followed her also acted from knowledge. He knew exactly what the signal meant and understood the urgency behind it. Without that shared understanding, the communication between the girl and the officer would have been impossible. This connection, built entirely on knowledge, is what led to her rescue. Knowledge becomes protection in several powerful ways. 1. Knowledge helps recognize danger early. Danger often begins quietly. A child looking nervous, someone acting controlling, an individual giving subtle signals. These moments are small but crucial. People who are informed are more likely to notice these signs quickly. The earlier danger is recognized, the easier it becomes to stop it before it grows. 2. Knowledge reduces hesitation. Many people hesitate in emergencies because they are unsure of what to do. They worry about misinterpreting the situation or making a mistake. But when someone knows the meaning of a rescue signal, or understands common signs of distress, their confidence grows. They are more willing to take action, and that action can change everything. 3. Knowledge empowers victims. Victims who know even simple safety techniques gain control in situations where they feel powerless. A child who knows a rescue signal, a teenager who knows how to communicate danger discreetly, or an adult who understands how to seek help without alerting an abuser, all these individuals are stronger because knowledge gives them options. 4. Knowledge strengthens communities. The more people in a community who understand safety signals, the safer that community becomes. Awareness spreads quickly when people talk, teach, and learn from each other. A community where most people know the signs is a community where danger is far more likely to be recognized and stopped. Knowledge is also protection because it breaks the silence that often traps victims. Many people in dangerous situations remain quiet not because they want to, but because they don't know how to communicate safely. Teaching children and adults about distress signals, safe words, and emergency procedures gives them a voice that cannot be easily silenced. The supermarket incident highlights something important. Knowledge is powerful not only in the moment of danger, but long before it occurs. The girl learned the signal at some earlier point, and that learning gave her a lifeline. She carried that knowledge with her everywhere she went. That means she was protected even before danger approached because she was prepared. Another dimension of knowledge as protection is understanding how predators operate. Individuals who intend to harm often look for people who seem unaware, unprepared, or uncertain. But a community with widespread knowledge creates a difficult environment for such individuals. They know there is a higher chance someone will notice their behavior, recognize signals from the victim, or take action. In this way, knowledge acts as a deterrent. It reduces opportunities for harm by increasing the chances of intervention. Knowledge also changes the mindset of bystanders. People who understand the seriousness of distress signals feel a greater sense of responsibility. Instead of thinking, someone else will help, they think, I need to help because I know what this means. This shift in thinking is incredibly powerful. It transforms passive witnesses into active protectors. Additionally, knowledge promotes communication. When parents teach their children safety strategies, they create an environment of trust. When schools educate students about signals and boundaries, they broaden the circle of protection. When communities share information, they make safety a shared value. Knowledge builds connection, and connection strengthens protection. Another important factor is that knowledge grows. The more people learn about safety techniques, the more they pass that knowledge to other siblings, friends, classmates, neighbors. A single taught signal can spread from one child to another, creating layers of protection across entire groups. This ripple effect can save lives far beyond the original lesson. Knowledge also prepares people emotionally. Fear often paralyzes individuals in emergencies. But when someone understands what steps to take, they feel less overwhelmed. They act more decisively, they trust their instincts, and they are far more likely to help effectively. Knowledge reduces panic and increases clarity. In the little girl's case, knowledge was her strongest weapon, not physical strength, not escape, not shouting, but the information she carried within her. The officer's knowledge allowed him to understand her. And together, their shared knowledge bridged the silent gap between victim and rescuer. Knowledge, when spread, creates a safer world, one where cries for help do not need to be loud to be heard, and where even the smallest gesture can carry immense power. As we reflect on this story, let us remember that safety is not just about rules or procedures. It is about attention, awareness, and courage. Each one of us has the power to notice the quiet signals, to act when it matters most, and to create a community where everyone looks out for one another. Whether it's teaching a child a simple hand gesture, paying attention in everyday life, or speaking up when something feels wrong, our actions, no matter how small, can change lives. So, the next time you see a subtle sign, a flicker of fear, or a silent call for help, don't look away. Be alert, be brave, and remember, Sometimes, saving a life begins with simply seeing what others cannot hear. Thank you.